the dude from Oregon. I'll tell you.
What's up? Welcome into today's episode.
We just heard Mitch Morse saying he likes a dude from Oregon. I'm like, it must be me. Okay.
Breaking news, Josh Connerly, Oregon. So Mike Tice said he had Josh Connerly as OT1 in this class.
Wow.
Starting off with some offensive line takes, because Mitch Morse, former Bills, former Chiefs, former Jags offensive lineman, joins the show today. Mitch, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I appreciate you guys. I was talking to someone. I feel like it's like a Make-A-Wish for a retired guy. Just bring him in, let him have a day with the guys.
That's the best thing ever, though.
Not to take anything away from Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's a beautiful thing. That's poor taste, but I do feel like I don't deserve to be here, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
I'm just praying I don't get deuce blocked over here, because I would not be able to hold point of attack right now. Oh, okay. Center and guard. Sorry.
Ace block.
Ace block. All right. Now guard tackle. He played tackle in college. So,
well, the great thing about having a center here, and Mitch and I were talking in the hallway before we got started, and we've been chatting the whole time. Great dude. Obviously, we have a lot of overlap in terms of coaches, players that we've played, teammates we've had. We've never been teammates, but everybody's always like, you need to meet Mitch. And I'm sure that you've heard, like, there's this asshole named Kyle that you guys will get along with. Right. So I'm glad we get to do this. And Mike's going to take us all through all things here, off-season pod. So we're going to talk draft. We're going to get into the O-line stuff, our crossover later on, but I'm going to let Mike take the reins. We're excited to have you.
Show brought to you by Fatal Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Yeah, we got a mailbag. We asked for your guys' questions. You guys delivered. We got that off the top. We're going to ask Mitch a little bit about his career, blocking for some of the league's best quarterbacks. And we're going to talk to Mitch about some of his draft takes about this offensive line class, because I do think it's one of the positions that evals are all over the map. We asked you before what guys you've watched. You discussed it a little bit, but I just said Mike Tice has Josh Connerly OT1. Some people have Will Campbell OT1. Some people have Armand Membo OT1. Some people have Kelvin Banks OT1. It really is.
It's Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors, baby. Pick your whatever you want. You can throw sprinkles on that sunbuck if you want to.
And it's not the only position that's like that in this year's class. It really is very much up in the air. So we're going to get to that towards the end of the show. But we're going to start with the questions. The very first one here comes from Jack Scott. He asks, how was Mitch and other Chiefs O-line coached on timing for Mahomes' extension of plays?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's so dependent on the philosophy of not only the O-line coach, but like this kind of a test, just the QB style of play, which was Patrick is. There is no one QB style play he's got. He's got it all in the arsenal. So Andy Heck, who we've had overlap with, I'll tell you what, it's great being an interior in that offensive lineman. Being a tackle in that system is a nightmare, because it's help each other on the inside, tackles, best of luck. And what that did, though, was set the tone for really having a stern middle of the pocket, or even if you got depth, having an opportunity to kind of create that horseshoe, whatever you want to call it. The tackles really implemented going up the field. And you can see that in regards to, guy gets run up the field and being able to escape. But it's one of those things that you really don't talk about, and you just kind of figure out on the fly. It's really time on task. It's not something that you don't really sit down and do. It's something that honestly the quarterback falls into a lot at times, just seeing how his offensive line blocks. And that's a testament to not only Pat, but also these other elite quarterbacks. That elusiveness is one of their traits that's not talked about enough.
He said something that was really interesting to me, and he talked about how the tackles have a difficult job. The interior, we rely on one another, and whether it's slides or gap protection, there are ways that Andy Heck and Andy Reid find a way to keep the middle of that dish, as I call it, horseshoe, as you called it. I think they're both great phrases, but the key in this is the tackles are running the edge rushers by, and the quarterback is supposed to step up, and you can't step up into a cloudy dish. So I think that's the easiest way to answer that question is protect the middle. Patrick will make the right decision, whether he wants to exit stage right, stage left, or stage center.
Or you can mess it up and he'll figure it out anyways. I mean, that's
throw it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, a throw it call from an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
You get a 1 or 2 a year. QB usually has a year for it. You get beat so bad. Part of it is throw it.
Throw it, Patrick.
Yeah. Throw it. Yeah.
How are you coached? A follow-up to that, in terms of obviously holding penalties often get called on those scrambles, and sometimes rightfully so, sometimes wrongfully so. But how are you coached in terms of letting guys go? What are you supposed to do in those scenarios? Did they tell you anything specifically?
Well, it kind of depends on what position you're in.
Yeah. That's more a tackle as well.
Yeah, so more of a tackle. I think it's really these players and kind of watching some of these draft players. And something that Andy Heck used to talk about. It's relative position, where the quarterback's supposed to be, kind of feeling where what the defender's doing. I would say the biggest thing is if you have your hands, everyone's holding on every single play.
Yep.
And that's not talked about.
Hell yeah, we are.
It's the truth. I mean, I held on every single play, and if I didn't, I was upset. But it's all about, and the short arms do come and play, but it's keeping your hips in a position or keeping yourself in that position in front of the player at least a little bit.
The Crowther drill.
Yeah, Jesus. And then part of it is just truly, all right, now it's time to let go. You feel like you're pulling on the guy a little bit.
Okay.
It's an art form that you try to master, but often that you kind of snipped in the butt for.
So Harry Heastand, who I got to play for in Chicago, legendary offensive line coach. By the way, huge Notre Dame guy here. He's aware of Harry Heastand and his product. Zach Martin, Ronnie Stanley, all those guys.
Good. Yeah, go Irish.
So the way that Harry Heastand used to teach us would be we would be, our hands behind our back in individual,
have to block.
like remember the push pull drill, like essentially like a wave drill for offensive linemen. So you have your hand. So those of you at home that are listening, get it in a pass protection stance, like an upright pass protection stance with your hands behind your back, and try to maintain strength in your core and have one of your teammates
shut your windows,
shut your windows,
so you don't want your neighbors seeing.
Muzzle your buddy. So pull his shirt, push him, and mix it up. Go side to side. When you don't have the ability to move with relative position, have your hips on the guy. That's when you end up reaching, and when you reach, you're usually grabbing.
Totally.
And when you grab in those situations on the reach race for a rusher, nobody wants to see that.
No, I think one of those things he was just chatting about, the drill, is where is your weight in relation to your hips? Like, is your weight and your shoulders over your hips? You're going to find yourself in that position where it's either I'm falling out the window or I'm holding on for dear life. And it's just it's a beautiful thing when you hold every play.
Yeah.
You call every once in a while. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. You got to know what you're doing.
All right, next question here comes from Jerish Norwood. He asks, could you guys demonstrate how exactly they measure arm length? It seems like combine and pro day stats are often different. Why is it so difficult to get a consistent measurement? So I guess where do they put it on your shoulder is what he's asked. Do you remember?
I'll take this one because I have very short arms, and there was a point of contention for years. So it really is from fingertip to fingertip, right? They're going over your shoulder. At the combine, you're in that cattle auction room.
Yeah.
And it is demoralizing. And they're just, I have short arms. The guy's like, dude, you got to straighten your arms farther, please.
There's like two guys laughing at you in the back.
For your own sake, please. I'm like, this is all I got. And I guess it depends on if you're measuring at your pro day. It might help being in-house a bit. But it really is just one of those things where you stretch as far as you can, dude. And there's really I don't know if there's really any way of cheating it.
No. Well, let's be honest. Some of that
spread.
Not every measurer of arms was created the same.
Dude, there was a controversy.
There is big time screw ups in this shit.
At the combine, the whole offensive line group was a half inch shorter than at their pro days or at the Senior Bowl, where they also got measured.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's a damn conspiracy. Pull it up, Jamie.
Who was the measure? It was whoever wants Will Campbell and is not on the Patriots. An agent came in and measured his arm.
There's a quarterback whose hand grew 1.5 inches. I think it was the guy from Yep.
It was a full like
the power of prayer. No,
I need those Wheaties, okay, in my breakfast bowl. That's what I need. I need to get let me know how to do that.
You got some meat hooks on you, kid. You're doing fine.
He had a follow up though. It says, ask Mitch if his arm length measured at 34 inches instead of 32.25. Would he have been played at tackle? Do you think he would have?
No.
Still would have been
listen, dude. It is a different deal out there, and you can just see it sometimes. You can hear it. I don't know. You'd like to think you could. Listen, Andy Heck, I love him, but he took years off my life, made me a better football player. Maybe if that had correlated outside, fine. But dude, it's just a whole different world out there. An arm length is one of many.
You're born a tackle. You're also born a center or a guard, I think.
That's true.
And
So you did play
it's a
tackle
holy
in college
position.
at Missouri.
Yes, yeah.
What's the jump up in competition like, just in terms of week to week, what you're facing athletically at tackle in college versus in the NFL?
Well, I mean, no matter what you look at, conference-wise and all that stuff, people can chat. It is, no matter what conference you come from, it's a complete step up.
Yeah.
These guys are just werewolves on the edge position.
Fire-breathing dragons.
Yeah, fire-breathing dragons. I mean, I remember being in Kansas City my first few years, and we were in a division where it wasn't too bad being an interior, but the
Chandler Jones.
Well, so we had not quite then, but we had Khalil Mack and Bruce and the Oakland. We had Bosa and Melvin Ingram, and then we had DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller.
Yep.
And then
When they were rolling,
I mean, I'm telling you, these dudes were.
they get you at altitude and just kill you.
Oh, dude. And we had tackles that were up to the challenge for the most part. It's just a whole different ballgame. And now every team's got one of these guys. I feel like there's some year, like maybe that's just me being naive, but these guys are. I mean, you see a Micah Parsons who can play at any position. I mean, Myles Garrett, the fact that he's out there is ridiculous.
Yeah, we were talking about Myles Garrett just yesterday on the show at length, and we're just kind of in awe of the physical excellence that exists in the National Football League. And to further answer your question, I would say this. The athletes, they're all there in college. They have to go through college, but it's the guys with a real rush plan and a tool belt, a toolkit. That's when they become killers. When they start setting up their seventh rush of the game, 1 through 5, and they have a real plan to kill you out there. Those guys in college, it's a rogue wave when you do face a guy with a rush plan. You're going to face good athletes every week, maybe a great athlete every other 3 weeks, but the guys with the plans are the ones who are really dangerous. And everybody in the league seems to have a great plan now. There's pass rush specialists. These guys go to school in the offseason for it.
Yeah, I think a couple things there. One is like how many rookies, even like rookies guys who turn into elite players as rookies were not elite pass rushers, right? And so like the step up, guys like Khalil Mack was a great rookie, was not an elite pass rusher as a rookie, right? But then, so like even the top players sometimes aren't necessarily polished. And then the other thing just being the paradigm has shifted in terms of the athletes. I think like a decade plus ago, when Von Miller broke 4.5, that was like, holy poop. You know, this guy is a 4.4 edge rusher that he goes top 3.
Yeah.
This year, multiple guys broke 4.5, right? It's just like last year, multiple Dallas Turner, Chop Robinson break 4.5. It's the athletes coming out. I don't know what it is. Just training.
It's those edge rusher contracts. These guys don't want to be any other positions anymore. They want to go get 1 sack a game for 8 years, 9 years, and they can make $300 million, dude. That's just the nature of the biz right now.
It's a beautiful thing if you're on that side of the ball. It's a
Gosh,
nightmare on this side, dude. It sucks.
Coaches say they get paid too. I'm like, yeah, a lot more.
Next question comes from Jeremy Muse. It's a little bit of a draft question. He asks, with the way Will Campbell sets so hard to the outside, if he isn't able to stick at tackle, do you see him having issues kicking in the guard? Some evals have him needing to move to center.
Hey, all right.
You know a thing or two about
that. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's a very niche question.
Very much is.
I would say, listen, dude, and I know we're going to go into depth about this in a little bit, but I was looking at some of this tape. I don't know how scouts do it. Like, how do you, there's so, and I know you got to go through the intangibles and the, you know, what's in between the ears, and so much of it's circumstantial too. Like, what's going to be a nurturing environment? What kind of room are they walking into? What kind of O-line coach
is their quarterback making them look bad or good?
What kind of quarterback do they have? Is patience? Like, is there a coach that knows when to push or when not to? Seeing the kid how he plays, I think he can do whatever he wants. And I think like we were talking about earlier, and maybe I'm a little sensitive to the subject, but short arms. If you can play football, you can play football. Now, the one thing I will say is his power, his position of power. I didn't see him in the 2-point stance.
Always like upright.
I'll tell you what, when he makes contact,
I call him Gumby.
Yeah,
because he finds a way to get those. You know, he like gets bendy.
He's got that. I know this is not answering your question or this guy's question,
but Jeremy appreciates this.
Jeremy, I hope so. But you know, he's got the eye black, and here's the only thing I'll say. Campbell, is that listen, if you can play football, you can do whatever you want. Just weather the storm, because the old dudes are going to give you a little bit of shit for it. They're going to give you a little bit of help for it. Excuse my language.
I think we can cuss on here. It's been about 25 weeks. We still got a job.
Yeah, and just weather the storm. Do your thing. You got it, moxie. Play with it and be yourself. Take it with a grain of salt. Because I mean, if he was in my O-line room, I'd be a little bit. Until he starts playing ball.
I'd be the guy that would be sitting next to you. We'd be the vets in the room, and let's pretend that he comes in. You're going to give him hell a little bit for his eye black, and his. Would he make a comment about Amazon? He's like, if I miss a couple blocks, I'm going to be working at Amazon next week, and I'm going to be the vet that plays along with you. But then, I'll catch him in the hallway, and I'll be like, "You can wear your eye black. Did you see Quentin Nelson play his rookie year? I didn't even see his face. All I could see was eyeballs."
Also, I mean, that's the thing, and then he gets to.
You can be that.
He subtly get to shut up veterans like me by just being able to play. If you can play, dude, there's a lot of stuff that you can just kind of be yourself, whatever you got to do to be out there just mauling. You're in a good spot.
To go back to the original question, he talked about. So I'm going to make this quick.
Sorry, kid.
Sets too hard to the outside. If he isn't able to stick a tackle, do you see him having issues kicking to guard? I'll say this: I love a guard with an aggressive set. If you want to take that lateral movement and make it into if Will Campbell feels more comfortable moving and being aggressive at the snap of the ball, then coach it into him to hit him with the jump set and be ready and save your inside hand. And with the way that he's able to recover at the point of attack, when he loses leverage and that balance, he can get his feet back in the ground. Some of the best players we've ever seen, the offensive line position, their best trait is recovery. And Will Campbell has that in droves. So I'm excited to watch him play inside or outside. To your point, the dude can play. We just want to see him play wherever the hell he ends up.
And I'm tired of the conversation around tackles kicking inside as being this
stop it. It's not a demotion.
Right? It's not.
You sick freaks.
And we're saying it because
it's a celebration, kid. Come on in.
We think he can be elite at guard, right? I think he's a special guard prospect, truly. And so, obviously I think he could play tackle. I think he'd be fine at tackle. Tackles get paid more, but guards get paid a lot of money now too.
Dude, tackles in the O-line room, if you were to ask an interior guy, only an interior guy, if you were to say, what would you think about moving out to tackle? And he would just be like, those guys are just different. They're born different. Mom, dad, and God touched them different. But then you ask the tackles about playing guard, and they're like, no, I want no part of that, because you're in there the entirety of the game and you're mashing face and you're eating glass, and you have to be that guy. They look at us. And I think he does too. The tackles look at guards like they're warriors, gladiators, and the guards look at tackles like they're basketball freaks, long, rangy, and they can make it look easy. The great ones make it look easy. Guards, if you're great, it's violent. It's a cloud of dust. It's football as we understand it.
It's the truth.
All right, next one comes from Mr. Ed315. He says, in honor of WrestleMania 41 this weekend, please ask Mitch who were some of his babyface, good guy teammates, and heel, bad guy teammates.
Well, I would like to know the definition of bad guy teammates, like guys who are dirty on the field.
I would consider Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Lions to be a heel, because he's a shit disturber, but he's a great teammate to have.
Yeah. Okay, so still falling under the realm of being a good teammate, right?
Clay Matthews was a heel when I played.
I got a great Clay Matthews story.
Okay, I want to hear it.
So heel, I would say we had a guy named John Feliciano on our offensive line.
Yes.
I mean, just an absolute dirtbag in the best way. Loves to stir it up. A guy named Brian Winters.
B. Wint. Love B. Wint.
He has one of the most amazing tattoos inside his lip.
The bullet. Doesn't he have a bullet chain too?
He's all over the place.
Fred Brown's tat.
It's the one inside his lip I cannot talk about on
the Trent Brown tat is all time, by the way.
It's so to be able to be like, yep, right there. And then I would also say, there's so many that play that subtle heel, and then good guys.
A lot of good guys you played with.
Guys, man, just good folks. Mitchell Schwartz was a good guy.
Yes.
Absolutely an analytical genius.
He needs to turn his brain down.
No doubt. No doubt.
I love Mitch, but I'm like, dude, you're dealing with a caveman here.
Yeah, no, he's a special dude in the best way. just so many good dudes. I can think of if I had to go from one from each team. So I would say Mitch or maybe even Larry Laurent.
Oh, LDT.
As the man. Going back to Buffalo, I mean, as much as he is kind of a bad guy at times, Josh is just a good dude. Always.
I get that impression.
I mean, just the best dude.
Huge.
He might just a monster.
Big kid.
He's the best. And then in Jacksonville, there was a guy.
Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Did you like that joke? That was good.
That was smooth. Yeah, definitely a heel there, kid. Devon Hamilton, really good guy.
Devon Hamilton?
Yeah, D-Ham.
Did you send me the Urban Meyer thing though?
Maybe during the season.
No, like just recently. He's on like some leadership.
Oh, he's giving a TED talk.
And I was like, it was like some Christian conference. It was like some Christian leadership panel. I'm like,
made a lot of money, I bet.
This guy, like, this is the leadership.
Jesus forgives, man.
So Mitch Schwartz,
got a lot to ask for.
paint a picture to the audience of how brilliant he is and what kind of things he would do in the meetings, on the practice field, in walkthrough to make you go, God, that guy's just different, and people will respect his intelligence.
Yeah, well, I think in like an offensive meeting, we do the whole install run. Like the run game would be the whole offense kind of going through, of course, the offensive line, tight ends, where the running back's aiming point is, but also maybe what routes we're going to run, what motions, and then maybe play actions off that. And he would sit next to me. He's like, you're going to love this route that comes off, especially like this cover 3 look. And I go, what the hell?
Which is not what we talk about.
No, listen, dude, my life is in the box. Everything else is a foreign
He
language.
sees the whole picture.
He does. And then, I mean, just his, because it also comes off as extreme poise too. Like on the field, that first year with Pat, it would be almost a conversation. And I'm sitting here, my fat is pushing in my lungs in the center position. I can't barely breathe. Making calls is already hard. I'm in my 4th year trying to figure it out still. And Mitch is in there just having this dialogue because he knows exactly what Pat's looking for in each play, all this stuff. And it was just kind of a beautiful marriage between those two. And then he would set the tone oftentimes if I was having trouble the first few seconds, just even if it was giving me just these quick reminder words or something like this. Okay, then that would set the table. Just different things. And he was within the game. Also a brilliant athlete in regards to his stamina from play 1 to play 60. And he came from the Joe Thomas tree of, I'm going to get to this point. I'm going to set to this point.
And fight for it.
My hands, and then it's up to them to
yeah, Joe Thomas and Mitch Schwartz.
Yeah, remarkable offense. And in the middle, Alex Mack.
One of the most freakishly athletic, flexible dudes in the world, Alex Mack. But also,
always run. Like he would run after the play.
Mitch Schwartz, all pro every year, no Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
Criminal.
Well, I think that might change if it was now in the last 5 or 6 years, just because we're seeing a little bit of a more conscious shift for that.
Yeah.
But I think if you asked him, all pros meant a little bit more to all.
100%. He'll still give a Pro Bowler shit, though. He'll be like, I'm better than you, and you were a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, they gave me.
You know how he gets.
They gave me one at the end just because they felt bad.
Because you were a badass baller.
Well, because I was hanging on and doing all right, and I'm holding on to that one, dude. I hold on just like my baby.
Tight.
Take it away from me. No, totally. It was smooth. And it was the first year we didn't actually have to play the game.
Oh, it's even better.
You got to snap during flag football. It was the best.
Mitchell Schwartz was probably, since we were on like the draft conversation, the worst athlete to make an all-pro at the tackle position in recent modern football history. He ran a 5.4 5.40. He had a 7'5" broad jump, which, dude, I don't think anyone's had that one that bad. He had a 26.5-inch vertical, and he has like size 18 feet, so that's just him standing on his tiptoes. 23 bench press reps, 7'8", 6'3".
He does have a 23-foot.
I will tell you what, that just shows the difference between this combine stuff and then functional football. And that guy exemplified it, dude.
And how important the mental, like if you know the why, not just the what or the who. If you know why we're doing something on offense and you can help a guy at another position group figure out how to do his job, my God, that speaks volumes about your prep. And if everybody did that, like there would be much better football played.
Yeah. If there was more Mitchell Schwartz's, much better football it'd be a different kind of conversations in the locker room and the
Yes.
be much more monotone. I love Mitch. He's one of my best.
I wish we could get him in here.
All right, next question comes from Brad Garden. He asks, who are some historical My Guy draft picks that did not pan out this year? I'm planting my flag on Josiah Stewart Island. So I guess this one's more towards me. I'll start with some of my O-line calls first. I loved Bernard Raymond coming out of Central Michigan. I had him as top 20 player. I could be proven right on that. Dominic Puny, I loved last year.
Beast.
I think it was like 34th on my board. AJ Brown and DK Metcalf as top 20 guys. They went obviously second round. Chris Jones, I called top 5 player in that 2016 class. That one. Some bad ones though. I love Jerry Tillery coming out of Notre Dame. I thought he was going to be like a high-end pass rusher. He was.
You let your heart get in that.
Blinded by
that one. I was blinded.
football Jesus.
But he was apparently. So I'll just tell a quick Jerry Tillery story. We interviewed him, or my buddy interviewed him for the podcast we were doing with PFF. We went up to Notre Dame to do it, and he left the interview, and he's like, that was the most uncomfortable I felt. He's like, I don't know what it was. He just made me feel uncomfortable. And then we heard after his rookie year, Daniel Jeremiah, we were talking with Daniel Jeremiah. He said he ran into him just somewhere out in LA. And he's like, oh, hey, Jerry, what are you doing out here? And he was in a suit. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing like a business internship in like the summer after his rookie year. The guy was just not. He was a different cat. He was not.
Only time you want to see your guy in a suit is on the plane headed to Cleveland to go whoop some ass in week 10. I don't want to see you at a Bitcoin conference.
Some O-line misses. I love Netani Muti coming out of Fresno State. I thought he was a top 50 player. Injuries may have been a factor there. I love Josh Jones coming out of Houston. I had him as a top 20 player that year. That one never quite worked out, the offensive tackle. So those were some of my hits.
You said Dominic Puny, is that right? For one of my hits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Special kid. He's out of Kansas, right? Is
Yes.
that right?
The guy can play.
Guy can play.
He's got good eyes.
Yeah.
He's got good angles. I was like stuck out to us immediately on tape with San Francisco early. And we were like, fuck, they did it again. They got a really good offensive lineman.
Yeah, no, he's a monster. Big fan.
All right, last question here comes from Jeffrey McCauley. He asked, DT rankings are all over the place. San Francisco needs huge help on the D-line. What combination of edge DT works best for Sala Kosaric wide 9 scheme for 11-43? Green Sanders, Nolan and Pierce, Harmon and Tuimo-Loau, or who's Michael Williams, gosh, and Grant/Darius Alexander. Kyle, have you watched any of the DTs?
No.
Okay, this one I'll handle then. I really like Mike Green, but I also don't think you're getting a DT like Derek Harmon, your Oregon guy, in the second round.
I've seen him a few times. He can play.
Now, I don't think it'd be Harmon and Tuimoloau. I think I have Tuimoloau a little bit lower than that. I think James Pierce could fall to that sort of range just based off of the character concerns with him. But maybe, I mean, there's some good speed rushers in the second round. So I like going Harmon at 11 for them, truthfully, and then figure it out, whoever is there in the round 2. But that's just my opinion. All right. There's our mailbag segment. We'll take a quick break. After that, can get to a little more talk with Mitch Morse here.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
All right, first off, we need to hear the Clay Matthews story. You teased it.
Yeah.
Oh, the Clay Matthews
Massive
story.
Packers.
Yeah. So
Yeah, pissed me off this morning. Tell me something about Clay Matthews.
No, it was cool. It was actually it's my rookie year. We had just lost a heartbreaker in our second game at home, Thursday Night Football against the Broncos. And then we went from a Thursday to a Monday night game, which is like a little mini bye week. You already have that Thursday break, and then you add an extra day on that Monday, which was smooth. So we go into Green Bay on a Monday Night Football, and we get absolutely smoked, dude, like 40-something to 10.
They're playing that song the whole time. I just want to bang on your drum all day.
I'm sure they were. I was out there just in a blender. It was like BJ Raji's last year.
Oh,
And so, you
you guys had the Raji rule on screens? Just stay on him?
stay on them. I'm sure we did. I've taken a few shots to the head since then. So a lot of football I've forgotten.
Yep.
But I will say, because Clay was doing all those Head and Shoulders commercials.
Mhm.
It's all over it.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
used to throw it
remarkably,
Seriously.
remarkably a stunning
Handsome.
looking man. Yeah. And I go up on a second level and, we collide. And dude, I don't know what it was. His hair was always wet too. Even
Yeah.
in the first play of the game.
The water lady would wet him down like a dog.
I mean, it must have been after a TV timeout. His hair was soaked. Hit me right in the face. It's one of those things where it just kind of whiplashes you. It's in your eyes, in your nose. I'm like, oh God. But then I get this beautiful smell. I'm like,
He wears it.
I'm like, you actually use Head and Shoulders? Yeah, absolutely. And so it's just a fun little thing we had chatted about, like in mid-play as a rookie, playing against Clay Matthews, who'd already established himself in the league.
That's great.
Remarkably good smelling hair.
I got hit by Troy Polamalu in a similar fashion my rookie year. His Head and Shoulders teammate,
Yeah.
I believe, right?
Yes, they were.
He was goal line at Heinz Field. He started to mug up, and I was in guard. A gap was mine. It was like P61 dive, and I was like, whoever shows up in this gap, I'm going to hit him. And Troy pretended to come. He stopped at the line of scrimmage on a hard count, and his hair swung forward, and it hit me. And it was the most beautiful thing. It was like an angel, like a football angel came and touched me.
Yeah, that's one guy I wish I'd seen in action, dude. He's
Wild.
an amazing football player.
So what's retirement been like? Month in, you're obviously here with us, so
Yeah.
a little restless. Are you going to pick up tennis like this guy? Are you going to pick up
tennis
golf? What
Fun. Tennis is fun.
Tennis is fun.
I suck so bad at golf. It's fun, but it's too long to be away from the wife and kids.
Yeah.
Tennis is like an hour. You get a great sweat. It feels like an OTA, like a great sweat.
Yeah,
see your boy, leave.
Yeah, well, so I would say the first month's been awesome. I had my first football nightmare of having to go back and play. So that's when I knew I woke up and I was like, absolutely right play. I don't know, dude. Like my elbows are cooked. So for golf, it's a nightmare. I had my first lesson in a while the other day, and I threw an absolute temper tantrum like a child. Scared this like in front of another grown man who's just trying to help me, and I'm cussing him out. And I sit there and I call my wife, and I was like, I might need. We need to chat. I might need a little bit of intervention, a little bit of help here. Anyways, for the most part, it's just pouring into my kiddos. You know what I mean? And that's been the best part of it by far. I know that they are getting tired of me because like the first few days after retirement, I'm like, all right, time to help out my wife. I'm sitting there and I find myself just hovering. And she's like, dude, first of all, you're freaking me out.
Yeah.
Secondly,
You need to get out of here.
I've had my life. I've had this routine. I thank you for helping. I will tell you if I need it. Now go out and do stuff. So I've just been sitting around figuring stuff out.
Dude, nothing will test your mental like a golf lesson where you cannot do what they're trying to tell you to do.
It's bullshit.
Where you're just like, how am I not doing what you're telling me to do? It seems so easy, but
I stopped paying money to get mad.
yeah.
So I just go for free to the range and get mad at myself.
I know. It was so it really was one of the true like moments that makes your for lack of a better term, your balls itch. Like it was just a terrible time.
So I hate to go from balls itching to this, but you talked about the kids, five and three. I had kids after I was done playing. My wife and I had kids. So I've got two daughters, similar age.
Right on, dude.
And I don't know how guys were able to have kids while they were in the league. And I would imagine for a guy who is now out of the league and spending more time with your 5-year-old, it's like, was there ever a time when you were playing where your body could still go, but you were like, I just want to go home?
I mean, every day for a bit, right?
Yeah.
It's also inner dialogue you have throughout your careers. You know, some days the highs are so high, some days the lows are so devastating, and those are exacerbated when you have a family in the mix, right? I would say that more than anything, it actually helped kind of put things in compartments, right? Like this is when I touch this, like I had a weird ritual where when I touched the handle of the door at my house to leave, all right, now I'm in work mode in the car. And when I got home, I hit that handle smooth. And was it easy to do every day? Absolutely not. Like any sport or any work, it's hard not to bring bad days home. It's easy to bring good days home.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of ride that roller coaster or not ride it per se. I would say, of course, the thing that's easy to say is, yeah, sleepless nights suck, especially when you're having kids. And they have the stomach bug and you're going into a Saturday when you're supposed to be, this is the day I'm supposed to get the most sleep.
And they bring you Chick-fil-A and your kids are homesick and you're like, I'm here messing around with the boys.
Totally.
Which is great, by the way. There's some days where I'm like, I wish I was still on a roster.
Sure. So the guys in Jacksonville reported OTAs the other day. I missed that first day showing up, seeing the guys.
The team meeting?
I don't miss warming up an hour later to go work out with the guys.
No.
So that's a long-winded way of saying it helps in many instances.
Well, you're in the right place. Your wife has the right idea where she's like, get off of me and go do whatever, fills your time in a healthy way, but also getting into stuff like this.
She said, get off.
You have a great personality. You're a center. You have so much to offer for, you can answer any question on the screen here. Any desk will be better for having you. I'm just happy that you're in here because I was in your shoes a couple of years ago and I was going to run through a wall and I didn't know what to do. And there's some days where I still feel like, testing the structural integrity of my home, but I get to come in and mess with Mike, and there's bad days, there's good days, but we get to do it.
Mike's all right.
He's a good dude.
I want to ask you a question about playing center from like a scouting perspective. How much is intangible at center versus how much is tangible? So like other positions, pass rusher, I'm not sure much is intangible. If a guy's a freak of nature athletically, he's going to be able to get it done. But at center, it's talked about as a more cerebral position. A lot of the greats have been smarter guys historically. What would be your take on that?
Well, I feel like I might be the anomaly in that smart category.
Stop.
Yeah, no, truly. I mean, you talk to some of these centers and they have the ability to break the huddle, go through like I think you can attest to this. Like when you break the huddle, no matter what position you are on the offensive line, you go through an inner dialogue, you go through an inner checklist, or here's a play. What's my role on it? Maybe if the defense is showing this, what does that dictate in regards to my calls? All this stuff.
Assignment, alignment, adjustment.
Exactly. But I will tell you, it's hard for me to be like, all right, of course, unless you are game planning specifically to go see if the safety or whatever. But some of these guys can really, they know, much like Schwartz, every intricacy of the play, how that's going to make the defense change, what defense is showing here. Of course, time on task, like anything, helps. You finding your own rhythm. I will tell you, I showed up to Kansas City as a tackle playing center in a system that Missouri had just started putting a tight end on the ball. I'm seeing 6 guys in the box, and now it's my first inside zone or 9-on-7 in training camp. I'm snapping to Alex Smith, who's year 12 or 13. He's so patient. And I'm seeing guys I don't even know how to ID. I don't even know who that guy is. Yeah. But I know that it's first goal line, short yardage day. I will say the intangible part is being able to take coaching, understand, and then I think understanding that your role does dictate a lot of what else is going on. But also, and throughout my career, whether it's guards or tackles in strange instances like Schwartz, you have your person you lean on because that's something that fills their cup.
Your battle buddy.
Your battle buddy or guy who knows that, all right, maybe I have a better instinct on seeing this, or maybe when I break the huddle, I'm going to take something off your plate. I'm going to say if it's base, or I'm going to say if it's nickel, or see if the safety's out there, because even just one space removed, you can see a little bit more outside. And that's why some offenses have their tackles really talking about what's going on outside, because just even 2 people removed makes such a difference. So I would say the intangible part is taking in information as it comes, relaying it, not putting it too hard on yourself. And then I think a lot of centers, what they do is they rely on the people around them.
More often than not, the center, and this is from my experience, when I came into the league, I had a 13-year veteran by the name of Roberto Garza, who was an OG gangster, played with all the, Reuben Brown, Olin Kreutz, all these dudes. The centers more often than not are the leaders of men in the room, and examples to the other positions of what a day-to-day workload looks like. The centers are meeting extra with quarterbacks. The centers are with the coordinators. We go home. Like, I'll go get a peanut butter sandwich, a shake, and I'm hitting the road. They're there for another hour meeting with quarterbacks, and the same thing in the morning. And I think about Creed Humphrey in Kansas City. they're magnetic. You know, your personality is this way. We met today for the first time, and I feel like I've known you for a while. You're a center, dude. Like, I know you played tackle in college, but there are traits, to your question, that you have to hit in order to be the guy in one of those rooms. And Mitch has a lot of those traits, and I'm interested to see this year who has them coming out of the draft.
All right, last one here before we get to some draft talk. We mentioned how important offensive line situation is, where you're going to, who the coach is, who's the vets on the team. What would you say in your mind right now? Top 3, top 5 situations for a rookie offensive lineman to be going into in the NFL?
Top 3, top like position, like
So you're drafted by like the Eagles, obviously.
Sure,
you're drafted by the Bills. Where's a spot that you want to be drafted by in this class?
Well, I think you want an offensive line coach that knows how to nurture a playing career based on the individual's strengths in regards to talking about the intangibles. What motivates this guy? What motivates me is going to be different than what motivates a guy like one of my good buddies, Deion Dawkins, right? It's just the truth, right?
Beast.
Like for me, monster. And then finding a way to not make it seem like, all right, well, I'm taking it easy on this guy, knowing when to push, knowing when to pull back. And that often comes with time on task. So you have a guy like Andy Heck. You have a guy named Aaron in Kansas City, Aaron Cromer, Stoutland in Philly, all these guys. And then I think we're coming into like a Ryan Wendell with the Rams, these young guys who also who have played a bit too. I think, it's not exclusively good O-line coaches have played, but they either have been around forever or they've played the position, so they know what works. And I think those 3, if you get an opportunity, and of course I'm a homer for 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. Same,
also Stout.
The same too.
Yeah.
Chrome drafted me, and Heck recruited my brother Chris at UVA.
Yeah.
And tried to recruit me, and then he left to go to the league. But then I ended up linking up with him in 2021. Great coaches. And I think not only obviously the coach is the most important fit, but who's playing what position there? What do the vets look like in that room? When I went to the league, when I came into the league, I was the youngest guy by 8 or 9 years. Like every other starter on the O-line cleared me by 8 years.
Which is remarkable.
I was the most immature, green, didn't know what a cross dog was. Looked at my coach on the side, like, what the hell did they just? That's cross dog, son. It's pretty basic type shit. Well, that was Chrome chewing me out for cross dog. But if I didn't go into the room with Jermon Bushrod, Roberto Garza, Matt Slauson, these dudes shape who you are. So as a player, you got to, as a young player coming into these rooms, wherever you get drafted, make sure that you ingratiate yourself with these dudes because they'll help you.
I had one more question because I do think with the dissemination of information, I know as someone who's like trying to get better at golf, it's a lot easier to get better at golf right now than it was when I was like 18 and trying to figure out how to get better at golf. Is it easier now to try to get better at offensive line? Maybe it's on your own, or are coaches better because of the dissemination of like what works at the offensive line position, things like O-line masterminds and these clinics in the off season. Is it easier now than like when you were coming out of high school, college, to find resources to know how to get better?
That's a really good question. I think it's more prevalent now, seeing those. It's really cool to see. I think the O-line masterminds is a great deal. It's always kind of freaked me out a little bit, so I've stayed away.
It's a little kumbaya.
Yeah.
But I like all the people involved.
All the people involved, and it's you get touched by magic. It seems like it was never my cup of tea, and I had no qualms with anyone in that. I think the development still comes down to the meat and potatoes of it all, which is you get thrown into the fire, and then you have either, like you said, a room that helps nurture you, or a position coach, or there's so many variables. Like, I don't truly believe in busts in this league. Mm-hmm. I believe so much of it is circumstantial, and does it nurture what you have that fuels you? So,
to kind of distill what you say, there's no substitute for actually like lining up in team in like a group setting,
sure,
and actually getting it done. You can skill work in the off season helps, but it's not the same as real development in a room with the team.
Totally. And to your point, like an O-line mastermind is going to give you the tools to create your subconscious so that when you are throwing your fire, you revert to those.
You can sink to that level of prep.
Exactly. So, and that's a great question I hadn't really thought about. It's every generation's burden or to hear from the generation before them how much better it was. I think that's just the nature of the beast. I try not to be. I try not to be part of that.
Play from like the 80s. They sucked. I'm just going to keep it real. It is not the same caliber.
I did not say that.
The only reason that I was able to have any success outside of where I was drafted, having a great O-line coach and Aaron Cromer and great guys around me, was from the day I put a helmet on at 16 years old. I had a guy coaching me who knew exactly. He was, my dad's a Hall of Fame pass rusher and run stopper as well. Yeah. He would do his best to tell me what bothered him when he played guys. So I would hear these tall tales about guys like Jackie Slater or Eric Williams from the Dallas Cowboys, who was a name lost in history, who would have been one of the greats ever. But you hear about some of the things that they did, and you're like, how can I implement that? Even from hearing a story, I don't need to look at the film. I don't need to. You just take that with you, and that makes you better. But to your point, the skill work in the offseason is great. These guys are getting paid so much money, and there's so much competition for those top contracts. Totally. Dudes are doing everything in their power now. They're not fat and sloppy O-linemen anymore. These guys all look like Tyron Smith now.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
All right, we're going to take a quick break after that. Going to get into this draft class a little bit with Mitch Morse. Coming up next.
The whole time. We're discussing sitting. So Mike and I often say it would be cool to have a desk, but then if you have a desk, it's too formal. It becomes a studio show. It's not a podcast.
But you're in the bad spot where if you were wearing a skirt right now, we would be.
It would be bad news. It would be bad news.
We get at least get the angle situation here. All right, draft. This year's draft class. Like I said off the top, opinions have been all over the map on these offensive tackles, where they should be drafted, how high they should go. I don't necessarily need your rankings. You said, how difficult it is, but just talk about some guys who had traits or guys who played in a way that you like. Just what comes to your mind first in this draft class when watching these offensive linemen? Well,
I was watching a few names that I was sent. Of course, I'm a homer. So Armand Membu, absolute mauler. He's an athlete at the position. Strong. I think when he uses his hands in the pass protection is remarkable. And texting with some of the guys, I think talking about intangibles, he's a really good dude.
Yeah.
So he's going to gel, and I think he's going to take coaching. The kid from Oregon that we were chatting about,
Josh Connerly,
has a full gamut of tools.
Yeah.
That you see take years for some of these offensive linemen at tackles, whether it's a jump set or, throwing hands or even replacing hands, does a really good job. And then Simmons from Ohio State.
He's got it.
He's got it, dude.
Yeah.
He might be my favorite besides Armand. Just the way he's able to get in space, talk about relative position, knowing the power of the play, being able to flip his hips.
Yeah, his lower half is so flexible and loose. Like you just see it. And just the way he swivels so easily.
And then outside of the offensive line, which I know this is what we're chatting about, another homer, I think Luther Burden is
we got questions about Luther Burden.
Yeah, we need some quotes about him. They called him a Saturday player, not a Monday through Friday player.
Oh,
that's what I was reading some quotes yesterday from anonymous scouts, by the way.
Anonymous scouts.
So I was picking apart the scout because I called him a coward because they didn't put his name. He's going to talk about this guy's draft stock.
Well, I've watched him play the last few years. I know how much he means to Missouri is the state in general, and of course Columbia. He's kind of got a little bit of a build like a Jamar Chase. I'm not calling him Jamar Chase at all, but I think he's got the full gambit. If he falls out of the first round, I feel terrible for him, but I think he'd be a monster steal in the second round. But to go back to offensive line, I think my favorite guy to look at was that Simmons cat from Ohio State. He just knows how to do it.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting one because obviously tore his patellar tendon against Oregon. Not a great injury for anyone, specifically an offensive lineman. That's ruined a few careers, unfortunately. So that's going to be worth monitoring, but he was actually moving at his pro day already, doing some lateral agility drills there, not any testing. So yeah, I think this offensive line class is going to produce like 6 or 7 starters at left tackle. I do think it ends up being, at the end of the day, still a good offensive line class, but I don't see a lot of day one Joe Waltz, right? Any guys who are really
that guy made it look so easy.
Not that that's like, high bar to clear, but I think
I have a question for you. In like the last 10 years, have you ever seen like what are the few dudes that you've seen on tape coming out of college? You're like, this guy is all that in a bag of chips. Like, so for me, I came out in the draft class with Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah.
And watching his tape was insane.
He was a murderer.
Dude, committing murder out there. And I give him a lot of shit for it because we were teammates last year, and it was a really fun kind of full circle moment. But how often do you see stuff like that and actually go?
So Joe Wall, I was like, yes. Penny Sewell.
I was going to say Panay. Don't watch him if you want to learn anything, because what he does, we can't do. It's like, just don't watch him.
I loved Andrew Thomas and Tristan Wirfs in that draft class.
Oh, Wirfs.
Both were exceptional. Quentin Nelson at guard was one where you're just like, that guy. He's got Tyler Linderbaum at center. Just watching his tape, you're like, I don't know how he doesn't make it work. Laramie Tunsil, now obviously the gas mask bong through a wrench.
That was great.
But
just go with a normal bong.
He was like, the way Josh Simmons moves, kind of things we're saying about like his hips being so fluid in the lower half, is like that was Laramie Tunsil, but then Tunsil had elite tackle size too. Simmons a little bit undersized, a little bit squattier. Tunsil had that. So they're not every year. And again, in this class, I'm not sure there's one that you're like Pro Bowler for sure. But those guys are the first ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, we're going to play a little game here at the end. We're going to do Who Am I Talking About?
Oh,
we're going to go back through the scouting reports from both of you. I'm going to read a quote. And we're going to have to, I believe these are from Lance Zierlein's scouting reports on NFL.com.
Great butt.
That's both of you guys. Yeah. All right. Short arms are a concern.
Me.
No, me.
This one's Mitch.
Yeah, I got you, kid.
I had short arms too.
I had
me and Justin Pugh.
Historically, so I have short arms, and then both have been surgically.
So you can't straighten them?
No, dude, you're
surgically shorter.
So this is as far as I can.
You got arm shortening surgery?
Dude, well, look, I can't. Well, no, it's elbow.
You can't tie a tie.
Well, I couldn't do that even with.
You can't front squat.
Fuck. No. God.
Smart lineman who understands his shortcomings and makes the proper adjustments.
Mitch. Smart was in there.
After he called himself not smart earlier, it is Mitch.
People were like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing with me.
Shortcomings made me think of myself. But,
oh, that's relatable.
Yeah, that's relatable. Yeah.
Looks the part of an NFL offensive lineman.
Kyle.
That was Kyle.
So is this going to be just like all good stuff for him?
No. Balanced pass sets and avoids waist bending and headbutting.
That's you.
I would say it's me.
That is you.
Sick.
Because balance, I was out there with Wile E. Coyote.
Good feel for landing accurate initial strike in pass pro or run game.
Mitch.
Kyle.
It's Mitch.
Nice. Cool.
I'm telling you, my thing was just red flags. It was like mug shots and red flags.
Will lunge at linebackers when he reaches the second level.
That's me.
Oh, God.
That's me.
Oh, see, this is making a turn. All right.
That's Kyle.
Kyle. All right. Sweet.
All right. Glancing blows when blocking on the move instead of driving his man to the ground.
Oh, that's me.
Could be me, too.
That's Kyle.
Oh, Kyle.
Feet
I was looking for the next guy. I got one guy. I'm going to the next guy.
Feet and hands don't always appear to be synced properly.
Me.
It's Mitch.
Yes. Nice.
You're out there.
Nice.
Desynchronized feet and hands.
Here we go. Last one before we do the combine game. Has some straight line quickness and can get out into space in the screen game.
Kyle.
That one's actually you, Mitch.
Oh, this is.
All right. Yeah. Now we're going to do for the combine measurables. I'm going to say the number. You're going to guess who did it. If you guys, I assume you guys, do you remember your own?
Yeah.
I'll try.
Yeah.
Okay. 4.9440.
Me.
31-inch vert.
Me.
That's Mitch.
Both of us.
You got 28 vert.
28.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. You're faster. It's fine.
9.4 broad jump.
I think that might be me.
It could be either of us.
Yeah.
It's Mitch. 7, 8, 3, 3 cone.
See, now we're into territory I don't know.
I don't know.
I did the 3 cone. It was me.
It was Kyle.
Oh, yes.
You actually had a 7-6, though. He beat you. 4,
Damn.
5, short shuttle.
You beat me?
4, 5, short shuttle.
I was good at short shuttle.
I think that could be either.
That's Mitch.
Nice. Sick.
36 bench press reps.
I did 0.
Yeah, I know.
That's why these elbows don't work anymore.
I got up on the stage. Remember all the people,
Oh, dude, it was.
all the coaches in the crowd. You walk up, you announce your name, where you went to school, and then you go like do the bench. I was like, Kyle Long, Oregon. I'm not doing it, and people were like, oh, God.
All the players like,
Yeah.
All right, last one. Not technically a combine number, but RAS, your favorite thing. Who had the 984? Who had the higher RAS? You know what RAS is? Relative athletic?
yeah.
You got it.
No, I
I think Membu's got a good one.
Members, Spencer Brown, one of my buddies, had
Spencer
He is the
Brown.
10. Spencer Brown's the 10 at OT.
I'll tell you what.
Small school guy, right?
Yeah,
NIU.
So his
Man
O-line
football.
coach
High school.
was when I went to Oregon for 1 year, the other guard was his O-line coach at Northern Iowa.
Yeah.
Ryan Clanton is his name. Great
They
guy.
also had that dude on the same offensive line that went to Trevor Penning.
Penning, yeah.
Penning, yeah.
Spencer Brown looks like he could be, the world's strongest man competitions.
Yeah.
Like he looks straight out of that.
He's built like the guy from Reacher, but he's like 6'7".
Yeah.
He is a remarkable football player and a freak athlete. I don't know. That's a great question. To go back, I have no idea.
Does Chrome have him stepping over pencils? You ever hear that?
Yeah.
I don't want big steps. Step over pencils. That's how you keep your feet on the ground.
I know you wanted me to answer your question. He was really big talking about aggressive sets. It's
Yeah.
the best.
That's where I learned how to do it. Dictate terms.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to play defense. We're on offense. I want to go offend somebody with my hands and feet.
Well said. And, I don't know.
Kyle had the higher RAS at
Yeah, that makes
984.
sense.
I think a lot of that was because of size, though, because it takes into account height, takes into account weight,
How much did you weigh?
arm length as well.
305.
Okay.
So he had.
I was
those
pushing,
measurements.
trying to get to 305. It's like,
But you had him in the vert, you had him in the broad, you had him in the cone, you had him in the shuttle, and you had him in the bench.
see, why are
But
you trying to do this to us?
He had you in the 40 and the 10, though. His 10 split was.
His four,
Yeah.
my 10 was dog.
Yeah. He had what was it?
I think I had a running back 10 split.
He had a 174 10 split.
I think mine was like 1.9.
Yours was 186.
Yeah,
So,
tough.
yeah, dude, a 174 10 split's like,
Yeah,
I think Chris Jones had a
Short stroke. I'm a big short stroke
he had
guy.
he had a lot going on during that.
He takes one steep. Yeah. Which part of his body crossed the line first?
No, that's remarkable. I'd be running pretty quick too.
All right. Mitch Morse, dude, thanks so much for joining.
That was
the
awesome.
show.
Hey, thanks
That
for
was
having me.
fantastic.
Thanks, dude.
I appreciate you.
We will be back tomorrow doing a little mock draft roundup. We're going to go through, Kyle and I, the top. We're going to go through some of the legends. I think Daniel Jeremiah's, Mel Kiper, Dane Brugler.
See if we got any
We're
gripes.
going to go through their latest mock drafts, and we're going to pick a would you rather, who we want of those 3 picks that they gave to your team. Because all 32 teams right now, they still have the first round picks.
And Sydney Sweeney's going to be joining us on the pod too.
Dude, yeah, can't wait for
So
that.
don't miss it.
Until next time.
So what kind of podcast is this?
Keep pushing.
Thanks, guys.